Good afternoon, anti-novelists. I'm Victoria with the Zettelkasten for Fiction project, where imagination finds order. In video 1, we walked through my notebooks. In video 2, I want to show you a closer look at how the numbers work and why. So let's go talk. To begin with, I color-coded my main characters. So my main female character got red and pink. Red is for the present, pink is for the past, generally. That's not a hard rule. And then I started to subcategorize the people under her in her world. 7120 is my main male character, same thing, some of the people in his world. 7130 are my major antagonists. Those are covered up, no spoilers. 7140 is the world of the Voynich manuscript, and 7150 is the world of embroidery. Both of those figure prominently. So as I started to further break them down, let's go over here. More breakdown for main female character, more breakdown for male. I broke down some of the Voynich manuscript details and gave those all of their own numbers. This way, any development detail that I work through, I can number them in the system and I know where to find my information. This is a breakdown of my major antagonist. You can see there's a lot of them, but the reason is because antagonists are 7132 generally, but I needed to break them down more specifically. For example, 7132.A is academic. .R is religion, .G is government, and those are broken down even further by military, etc., so forth. .P is presidents, .J is Supreme Court justices, so you get the idea. What I'm doing is I'm developing an antagonist world, because at the top level, you've got an overarching antagonist system, and that's going to figure prominently in the series, okay? So that's a series arc of bad guys. But locally, for the first book specifically, you have to identify your local bad guy. He's like the first bad that you have to defeat in order to get to book 2. So essentially what you're looking at is a way to develop your main characters and their characteristics alongside your main antagonists and their characteristics so that you can then start to weave the story together and build them off of each other. As a final note, let's look at how the architecture of my Zettelkasten works. First, you have the note card zone. This is where you begin thinking, brainstorming, flash bunnies, we'll talk about those later, general plotting. That's all in your general note card zone. That's where you're developing out the ideas for your story. That is composed of a bucket of research, which could be nonfiction, relevant fiction, other things like interviews, etc. And then also the development of character setting and plot. That's the glue that holds your story together. In the middle, you've got the Zettelkasten zone. This is where your ideas and your cards, your exploratory cards, are getting filed. So on the one side, you have the main box. That's where you're filing in storage, accessing addresses, revelations, all of that are the thought cards that go in your main box. And then you have a plot box. I'm going to put a pin in that because we'll come back to plot boxing later when we start to line out all of the specific components of plot. So once these pieces start to develop and come together into some nice juicy story details, that's when you start writing. Someone made a comment that I must not like computers. Au contraire, mon frère, I love computers. But this system is specifically developed to be an analog way of getting the research and the story started in the tradition that Nicolas intended it, for output, right? For creating content. Once you get down to the drafting stage, that's when I fire up the old computer and start drafting out the ideas generally on my laptop. All of those things go into a plot draft folder. Again, we'll come back to that when I talk about plot box. And that's how you put out your finished drafts. And those comprise the novel. So I'm going to drop 2 resources down below. The first one is a link to the academic disciplines. When you pull it up, you will see along the left-hand side the 5 major disciplines. That's the 1,000 through 5,000 cards. I'm also going to drop a link to my colleague Nico, who does an amazing job in 19 minutes of laying out how to set up your own Zettelkasten from scratch. So I don't need to repeat it. His is excellent. I'll drop it down below. Please let me know if you have any questions. That gives you a high-level look at how my numbers function and how the Zettelkasten system works together under the architecture I've created. So I'll see you next time.